And when I went around the world and figured out how billions of people live, the majority of people live every day, in little mud huts and little tin shacks, and a room the size of a college dorm room that has 2 single beds in it, and it's called a 2-family room where 10 people live, literally 5 family members, mom, dad, brother, sister, child on both beds. And I looked around and went, wow, if this is what the majority of the world is going through, I need to help. I'm not going to sit here and just say, screw them. I'm going to focus on having more and more and more myself. So my version of success was, first learning what it takes to have the life I really want, living it, getting the results myself, and doing all the things I really desired, and then finding a way to pay it forward.
To the Unleash Success Podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, COREY CORPODIAN.
Welcome back to Unleash Success. If you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, just go to unleashsuccess.com, enter your email so you can get all the tools and strategies sent directly to you each and every week. This is COREY CORPODIAN, your host. Today we have a #1 best-selling author, performance coach, and lifestyle entrepreneur and keynote speaker, Mr. Jairek Robbins. I remember seeing Jarek's TEDx talk on Learn It, Live It, Give It, a philosophy that I honestly completely agree with and love. And today we're going to start breaking down the secrets of success on how to enjoy your life to the fullest while being an entrepreneur. Jairek, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to unleash success.
Hell yeah, man. So you wrote the best-selling book, Live It, and achieve success by living with purpose. Purpose is such an important thing, and a lot of people really struggle to find purpose. How do you go about finding purpose in your life, and how did you do it?
So purpose is an interesting topic, and I love it. And there's a lot of people searching for their purpose. And to start with, I would tell people to take a deep breath and realize, kind of poke your hand and poke yourself in the face and poke your arm and your body. And you're like, if you're still here, there's a reason. Now, I don't know what that reason is. For some people, it's to be an incredible example of how to do something or go about life in some way. For some people, it's to be an incredible warning of what not to do for other humans so they can learn what not to do by watching you and observing you. What I've learned, though, is that choice of whether to be an example or a warning starts with our choices and our decisions, and a lot of times is a reflection of our values. And there's usually a contradiction between what we tell ourselves are values and what we live as values. Because a lot of people, when you sit them down, and I remember taking my cousin and her fiance at the time on a cruise, and we were all traveling with a group of people. And we used to do these trips where we'd do 10 countries and 25 days and, explore ourselves while exploring the world, and do zip lining and volcano boarding and
that's awesome.
Donate to a village. Oh yeah, it was cool. You hike up an hour and 45 minutes at the top of a volcano, and then you hop on a snowboard sled thing, and it takes 45 seconds to get back down to the trucks.
Holy cow.
It's pretty wild. And you come you're just completely covered in soot at the bottom, and you wipe your eyes and you have just a line of black across your face. You're like, hey.
What are you riding? Are you riding lava? No, I mean, that's obviously it would melt.
You're riding the ground up old lava that's now rocks and soot, so it's black. So you just see a big dust cloud where the person's flying down the hill, and then literally you're just covered in dust at the bottom, and you take the goggles off and you have a goggle mark around your face. It's hilarious.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun, though. So we do that, and then we partner with the mayor of Manta, Ecuador, and donate Christmas for 200 families and surprise families who didn't have anything. And we do clothes and necessities for the parents, but then toys and bubbles and crayons and coloring books for the kids. So we do stuff like that. And while I was there, I remember asking everyone on the boat, on the ship. I apologize. Anyone who's listening, it's a ship, not a boat. But on day one, I would ask everyone, what's most important to you in life? And if you're listening right now, you can answer the question yourself. What's most important to you in life? Write it down. And a lot of people say stuff like God, family, making a difference, being a good person, working hard, being successful, doing good in the world. You hear all these good things that come out. And I say, okay, great. So write all those things down. And then we wait a few days, and a few days later, we take out their calendar. And I said, here's a 7-day calendar, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Block out the amount of time you spend doing those 10 things you just wrote on your list. And for most people, there's like little specks where they might like pray in the morning, and then they volunteer maybe once a month, and they spend time with their family kind of on the weekends, and they start to block out their week, and then there's this giant open gap. And I'm like, well, what's that? And then I'm like, work or stuff or whatever else they do. And I'm like, oh, so if we add up the amount of hours invested into what's most important to you versus what you're doing, what does it add up to? And for most people, what's most important to us is getting squeezed in all little nooks and crannies around what we have to be doing every day. And I just stopped there and I'm like, wow, how do people come up with this concept? And they're like, well, I have to work. Well, sure, but you could work doing anything. And so what I always start with is people get confused in this moment because they're like, wait a minute, you're telling me to ditch work and just go paint because I love it? Like, how am I going to make money? Starving artist, bro. Like, you can't make money painting. and so when they start getting into the thought process of you can't survive doing the things you love, then I always kind of scratch my head and go, really? Because let's just back up a mile and say, hey, what does the world need more of right now? And I'd ask you, what's the world need more of?
I think we need more leaders, to be honest. People that lead by example. Yep. I think too many people get stuck in that mindset of, I can't do this and I can't do that, whereas a leader can show them the way. And I think we all need to embrace that and become our own leader of our life.
Yep. So the world needs more leaders. I hear stuff like the world needs more love. And that's a phenomenal answer. I like that answer. World needs more love. World needs more laughter. World needs more joy. World needs more humor. World needs more empathy. World needs more caring. And people are like, yeah, but caring, how am I going to pay my bills just because I care?
Right.
I was like, it worked out for Mother Teresa. She cared a whole lot. And she had a $1.2 million a month charity going on worldwide, taking care of thousands of people around the world without a penny in savings. It worked out. It's like, well, the world needs more laughter. How am I... Laughter, like what? Am I going to tell jokes and get paid? I'm like, Kevin Hart's doing okay.
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he's doing okay with laughter right now. The world needs more. And you go down the list and any of these things work out when you focus on what the message is instead of the vehicle. And so when we're saying achieve success, the concept of aligning your message with vehicles that allow you to take what you believe the world needs more of to the world. If you think the world needs more love, then the question is, what are the vehicles that allow you to express that message to the world and inspire other people to step into that place that you're calling them to? We have a brand new podcast we're about to launch. I might interview you right after this for our podcast if you're up for it.
Sounds great.
but the concept of we're asking the question, what does the world need more of?
Yeah.
And so far I've heard stuff like financial literacy, clean, healthy food, clean water, empathy, caring, love. And it's like, wow, these are the things the world needs more of. So the big question is, how can you align what you do every day to be in full alignment with what you believe the world really needs more of around you? And so in that book, we talk about how to realign your actions so they're actually in alignment with your values, so that what you're doing is in alignment with what you believe you should be doing. And all of a sudden you stop feeling lost in life. You stop feeling frustrated or depressed or just not knowing what to do with yourself or hunting for purpose. All of a sudden you have purpose because what you're doing is in pure alignment with what you want. If you want to create a cool Venn diagram, I love this one because this is a way we help people on the business side of purpose figure out how to turn your purpose into something you could be doing every day. And the first circle you want to draw is draw a big old circle and write in it everything you love to do. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to love it. So you could suck at this. You could be horrible at this. Write it down if you love it. Like you could sing like a broken trombone. That's okay. Write it down if you love it. And so you write down everything you love. And then the second circle, now we're going to get a little critical. Write down what you're actually good at. This is a different list sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
You might love to paint, but you ain't Picasso. Like you got some weird stuff going on, but you're good at writing or you're good at caring or you're good at listening or whatever. Like, what do you love? What are you good at? Third one. And this is a differentiator. What do people want? not what they need, but what do they want? People want Cheetos. They don't want broccoli.
Right.
They need broccoli. I've been to SeaWorld and experienced that most people need broccoli.
Yeah.
but they want Cheetos. And so you got to ask yourself in this third list, what do they want? Not what they need. Too many people try to put together what people need instead of what they want.
And that's huge, though. It's like you're telling people to go follow their purpose, but it's not like they can quit their job because they might need, money to survive, but they want to do something that they're really passionate about. What kind of advice do you give them?
So this is what we're doing. We're piecing this together. There's a fourth piece, and you'll see how this intertwines, where all of a sudden what they're passionate about and what they're going to get paid for overlap. And so the first is what you love. The second is what you're good at. The third is what people want. Not what they need, what they want. Fourth one is what are they willing to pay for? And all of a sudden, the intersection of something that fits in all four of these circles becomes something you're passionate about and you can get paid to do. Because you love to do it. You're actually talented at it. Not only that, people want it. They're seeking it. Not only that, they're willing to pay for it. All of a sudden, you have a cross-section that goes, holy moly, I love it. I'm good at it. They want it, and they're willing to pay me for it. Holy mackerel, this is an opportunity. And out of a list, maybe you create 40 things and all these little things. There's probably like 3 or 4 that really fit all 4 if you're honest with yourself. Now, there's other options. You could go, I don't want to do any of those things. So I'm going to keep my job or 3 jobs like I had when I started my business. I'm going to keep all 3 of my jobs, and I'm going to go get better at something else I'm not good at, but I love. And if you invest enough time, effort, and energy, you can gain the skill set to actually become good enough at it that if people want it and they're willing to pay for it, now you can go do it. So sometimes you got to grow a new muscle. You got to get better at something. But there's a flip to this whole thing that I experienced. I was in a rural farming village over in Uganda, teaching organic farming to the villagers there. I had taken a trip around the world, and I realized that I was part of a very, very, very small part of this population on Earth, that we have an extreme amount of abundance in our life. I grew up in Southern California. And when I went around the world and figured out how billions of people live, the majority of people live every day in little mud huts and little tin shacks, and a room the size of a college dorm room that has 2 single beds in it, and it's called a 2-family room where 10 people live, literally 5 family members, mom, dad, brother, sister, child on both beds. And I looked around and went, wow, if this is what the majority of the world is going through, I need to help. I'm not going to sit here and just say, screw them. I'm going to focus on having more myself. So my version of success was, first learning what it takes to have the life I really want, living it, getting the results myself, and doing all the things I really desired, and then finding a way to pay it forward. And in this case, I was saying, hey, I'm healthy, abundant. I know how to eat and sleep and breathe and walk and talk, and I have resources, and I want to go share them with people who really lack resources at this moment. The masses. And so in that case, I learned a new skill set called organic farming from the government in Uganda. Then we went out to the villages and started helping local farmers. While I was there, coming back to this concept of purpose, I met a man, or observed a man that changed my whole perspective on purpose. Because, one path is using that Venn diagram. What do you love? What are you good at? What do people want? What are they willing to pay for? And you can find the intersection of something you can turn into a business or a pursuit that can pay you to do something you really enjoy doing and you're good at. The other option is taking what you're already doing. And let's say you're like, no, I want to do all the things that I love as my hobbies. I don't want to have to do it for work. I don't want to intertwine getting paid and doing what I love. I just want to keep them separate. But do you have to suffer through what you're doing every day? Do you have to hate what you're doing every day? No, not at all. No. And I learned this by observing a little old man who was a caretaker at a clinic who lived about 100 yards outside of my window that I woke up and watched the sunrise out of every morning. And I remember watching this little old man. He would come out, grab a long thatch broom, and work his way down a long dirt path all the way to the main road. And it was just step, step, sweep, sweep, step, step, sweep, sweep, all the way down. And then he'd turn around, stretch his back, and then work his way back. Step, step, sweep, sweep, step, step, sweep, sweep, all the way back to the front porch. And then he would get to the front porch, set the broom down, stand up, and he would have the biggest smile on his face I've ever seen. And I remember watching this guy. Day 1, it's like, who cares? Great, he sweeps leaves. Day 4, good for him. Day 10, why does he always do it at sunrise? Like, this dude never misses. Day 15, he's really happy, huh? Like, that's some happy dude over there. Day 30, okay, I need to interview this guy. I want to get in his head. I want to know what he's about. I want to know why the hell he never misses, why he does it so consistently, why he's so happy about it. Like, I need to know all the details. My brain was just curious.
Yeah.
And so I went and interviewed this guy, and I got in his head, and I was asking a friend to translate, and it didn't go as smooth in the beginning because I said, why do you do what you do? And he looked at her and said something, and she looked at me and said, he said, because I'm supposed to. I was like, ugh. Now, if you've ever traveled overseas with an American, we're not so great when people don't understand us. We tend to talk louder because that somehow is going to break the language barrier. So I'm like, why did you do what you do? And she's like, I speak English, stupid. I'm like, oh, shit, sorry. So she turned to him and was like, give me a minute. And so she talks to this guy, and she says something, and all of a sudden, like, his face lights up, pure joy. And he turns back around, and he says something to her, and then she turns to me and she goes, wow, that's beautiful. I said, what is it? And I kind of shook her a little bit. She said, chill out, dude. I'm going to tell you. I was like, okay. And she said, the reason I do what I do is because every person, whether it's a small baby about to enter this world or a sick or elderly person about to leave this world, they deserve a clear path to do so. Wow. And I remember having that moment of like, wow. Like, I just experienced this guy's wow factor. Wow. Yeah. It hit me. My jaw was on the ground. I had to like pick it up and be like, oh boy, wow, this is interesting. I was like this. And I went and learned about this guy. He was a janitor in his like 70s or 80s who collected hats. That was his big thing he did in life. He lived in a broom closet. Literally, it had enough room for a little tiny cot on the ground. And it was like, he'd walk in, sit down, turn his legs up, and then shut the door, and he lived in the closet of the clinic. It was just a warm, dry, safe place to live in a building there. And every day he'd sweep the leaves, but in his perception, he wasn't just sweeping leaves, he was clearing a path for people to enter and exit this world through.
That's incredible.
And so the other path to finding more purpose in what you're doing or cultivating more purpose is sitting down, and there's science around this. They did it, I think the research, it was either Harvard or Duke, where they had people sit down and write down how they would describe the current work they do. So just write it down. I'm a mail clerk. I deliver the mail to all the people in my office. I'm the janitor. I'm a police officer. I'm a podcast host. Whatever it is, write down what you do. Now, take a moment and think of what your core message is on the inside. Whether it's bringing more love or laughter or joy or humanity or curiosity or creativity to the world, whatever it would be, passion, purpose, dignity, empathy, creativeness, whatever that would be, humor, silliness, fun. And then rewrite it with more of what you believe is really important to you in the description of what it is that you do. And all of a sudden, by rewriting a statement of purpose around what it is you do every day and adding in that which you value most, they've seen the job satisfaction immediately start to go up of the person who's doing the job, because in their mind, they're no longer just delivering mail, they're delivering happiness every single day.
What a shift.
They're bringing joy to every person in their office. Wow. They're no longer just sweeping the floor, they're clearing a path for people to enter and exit this world through. They're no longer just a cook. They're delivering nutritious experiences that bring pure joy to someone's life. And it's like, wow, just by adjusting that up here, it changes everything down here in your heart. Mm-hmm. And so something tactful, if someone wants to find more purpose in what they're doing and they don't want to quit their job and they don't want to do anything else, they can just rewrite what it is that they are doing in a more descriptive way, add more of the things that they value most in that description, and all of a sudden they'll start to feel it every day.
So for you, where did that shift come from? Was it an experience that you had that, you said, oh, I'm going to do this and this is my purpose in life?
So a lot of people email me because I'm a one-on-one performance coach for entrepreneurs and executives. I work with 35 to 45-year-old male entrepreneurs who usually run pretty big organizations. And so I have a target audience, and I work with these people on high performance, sleep, nutrition, exercise, movement, all this kind of stuff. I'm a keynote speaker who gets hired for events, and we travel all over the world and have delivered speeches in Tokyo and Thailand and India and New York City and Dubai and all kinds of places. And we're in demand all around the globe. People email me and say, how do I become a coach? And we created an online training to teach people how to do it. Or how do I become a keynote speaker? And I laughed because I've learned to step back from that and say, underneath it, that's a vehicle. A podcast is a vehicle to get a message to a world. A speaking platform is a vehicle to get a message to a world. Singing is a way to get to a message to the world. Writing is a way to get to a message to the world. The question is, what's your message?
Right.
Most people are concerned with becoming proficient at a vehicle instead of really cultivating the message that they're trying to share. And if they can cultivate the message, all of a sudden the vehicles all make sense. I can get this message out, singing it, doing it in a screenplay, doing it on Broadway, doing it through, creating a movie about it, do it through a podcast, do it through the radio, do it through speaking, do it through writing a book. All those are just vehicles to get this message to the world. And we're intersecting what we love. We love people. What we're good at optimizing them. Happy, healthy, strong, fulfilled, resilient people with great relationships and thriving, making more money than they've ever made. We're good at that. We know how to do that with our own life and with others. What are people looking for? What do they want? People want to make more money. People want to feel good, look good. They want to, I want to show someone how by optimizing their sleep, they can lose weight. Even if they have the same nutrition plan and the same workout plan, they can lose more weight by sleeping a little better every night.
Oh man.
That one blows people's minds.
Yeah.
They're like, excuse me, I don't gotta eat more broccoli. I don't gotta work out harder. Like, no, you just gotta optimize your sleep. And according to research, 2 groups with the same workout plan, the same meal plan, the group that slept better lost 30% more weight in the same 30-day period of time.
Okay, so is that longer or like more REM sleep? How is sleep better? Better.
So not quantity, it's quality. And so
Gotcha.
Quality-wise, we talk about this stuff. I have a friend, he's a guest expert in one of our programs, Sean Stevenson. He wrote a book called Sleep Smarter, 21 Ways to Optimize Your Sleep. He comes in and he shows you little things you can do, from a plant you can put in your building that produces more oxygen at night so you have better oxygen to breathe while you're sleeping.
Oh, wow.
To, simple stuff like blackout curtains to get the light pollution out of your room, to getting off of a screen at least an hour or 2 before bed to allow the blue light to get out of your nervous system.
I actually turned on the night on my iPhone to turn on like really early, 6 p.m. People always look at my phone and go, why is it so orange? And I have a program on my computer, f.lux. It's free. Yep. Just to be able to do that, because I had no idea blue light was affecting us so much. And we're always staring at screens now. That's
right. And so that working out first thing in the morning, getting vitamin D, gets your hormone cycles in rhythm. So we talk about that. Then we have people who are like, but what if I lose my energy in the afternoon? Like I just have that afternoon drain, like my coffee wears off and I'm exhausted. So I went and found a guy named Wim Hof.
Oh, love Wim Hof.
This guy's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
The Iceman. And I went to a friend of mine who does the neuroscience lab. He runs it at Stanford University. And they did a bunch of testing on Wim Hof. And they figured out through a simple breathing technique and going in an ice cold shower, 3 minutes, sporadically throughout the day, lasts about 4 hours. So once in the morning, afternoon, and towards the evening, you can activate what my friend at Stanford Neuroscience termed super performance. What does that mean? You get all the benefits of fight or flight without any negative consequences. Meaning your adrenals fire, your eyes focus better, your heart's more efficiently with your blood, your muscles tighten, you can run faster, jump higher, you break down food better and have more energy and fuel in your body. All the benefits of tiger showing up in your life without a tiger having to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's like, wow. So mid-afternoon, you feel that drop of energy, do a couple rounds of the breathing, hit an ice shower, and all of a sudden you're back. You got 4 hours of supercharged, right back to kick ass and take it on. And I always say, who needs that? Moms. Have you seen what happens when you got like 1 or 3 kids running around the house all day? People are exhausted.
Oh yeah.
Like they need super performance in the afternoon. If you're a CEO or executive, that's who we work with at an office. You're running low on fuel. Hit the shower. Students studying for finals. I wish I would have known this stuff when I was taking tests in school. I would have been hitting an ice cold shower every few hours, and I would be wide awake for that exam.
Totally.
I didn't know this stuff though. I had to go research it.
I actually did cold showers, not entirely cold, but I found out about Wim Hof about 1.5 years ago. And I started off on the program 30 seconds, before, 30 seconds after, built up to a minute before, a minute after. Did that for like a year. And then a couple months ago, I did a workshop with Dr. Trisha Smith, who's one of the certified instructors. Phenomenal. Jumped into a tin of like 200, 300 pounds of ice at 32 degrees, absolutely freezing. Incredible experience though. I mean, you don't need to jump in at 32 degrees. The studies are showing like you can, just a ice cold shower in the morning can get the same benefits, but it absolutely such a physiological shift that happens with that to optimize performance.
Yep. And so these are the types of things we look for, where it's like, how can you bring that into someone's life? And so for us, when you talk about what's that message, it's helping people be the happiest, healthiest, strongest, most fulfilled version of themselves. And so we hunt for people like these and others that have little insights that we could share with people that by, volunteering an hour a week, they're a happier human being, scientifically proven, research backed. They're a happier human by volunteering an hour a week. By doing a journal of 3 things that were great today, they're a happier human being. If they want better performance, they do the cold stuff. If they want longevity, there's certain meal plans you can have and workout plans for 20 minutes a day that include boosting your longevity and increasing your lifespan. There's so many things, little things, and my thought is humanity needs more of that. Not just people who can afford it and hire all these great experts, but people, if you're living in a village in Africa and we can put that in a podcast form and get it to you, like, hell yeah. I want to hear that dude increase his lifespan and be happier and healthier in that village, and hopefully be inspired to raise the whole village up and go to school and get your degree and come back and put, business together for your village and grow that thing and get it to a place where everyone's thriving.
So talking about as a performance coach and helping entrepreneurs also create the lifestyle, I've heard you talk about switching gears to maximize your performance. Can you go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So there's multiple sides of this, and lots of people talk about the morning routine, the coveted morning routine, which is phenomenal. I've been doing it since I was 14 years old. So I'm 34. So for 20 years, I've been waking up every morning and having a morning routine. And the reason I started was because of a program I listened to by my dad. And I was 14 years old, and I heard all these people talking about how this CD program they listened to, there was cassettes back then, but they had just become CDs, called Get the Edge, and it was changing everyone's lives. And I was like, okay, well, shit, I'm going to try it. And I was a B, C, D student. I wasn't a very good student. I was average. I was 5'9", 225 pounds. Like, I wasn't in great shape. I ran a mile in like 18 minutes flat, super slow and clunky. And I was always exhausted, and I'd eat an extra large cheese pizza by myself on a Friday night preparing for basketball. I wasn't good with relationships. I remember a girl called me one Friday night, was like, want to go to a party? And I was like, ugh. And I hung up on her because I was obviously trying to get sleep for basketball in the morning. So I certainly had my priorities straight as a teenager. So many years later, I'm like, would anyone call? It'd be nice. But lessons, life lessons at 14, 15 years old. And right around then, I remember I popped this tape in and talked about the hour of power in the morning. So waking up and get outside and do some breathing. Just breathe. Flood your body with oxygen. And 2, think about what you're grateful for. And 3, think about what you're excited about. And then 4, use something called an incantation to drive these feelings and emotions into your nervous system so you feel strong and powerful and focused and alive. And I've done it every morning since I was literally 14 years old. And transformed my life. I think within that next year, I went from a B, C, and D student to a straight A student. I lost all the weight, started running marathons, started setting goals, joined the football team, started working out every morning at 6 a.m. with those guys, which peer group helped a lot, having that community that challenged you to show up every day. We'd have to run laps if we weren't there on time, so there's also accountability to be there and get your butt kicked with everybody else. And that little stuff started to transform how I went about life. And since then, I've begun to optimize and look for what are tools you can use that give you real feedback. Because it's nice to wake up and do it and just feel better, but are you actually performing better? Are you actually getting better results? So you got to start to measure if you want to improve something. So we use devices like Spire on your belt to track your breath pattern all day. Calm, focused, or tense throughout the day. It'll tell you based on your breathing patterns. So as that's happening, I've noticed, hey, I can stay more calm and focused all day because I've learned how to control my breath patterns. There's a lady called Dr. Leah Lagos in New York City. She trains NFL coaches, Olympic athletes, hedge fund managers, all these big people on how to use their breath to manage their state of being all day. And she takes people who are like depressed, shows them how to use their breath pattern, all of a sudden they're happy again. And it's like, whoa, how'd you do that? And so she figured out there's a pre-breathing you do before something. There's a during breathing you use to stay calm and focused. And then there's an after breathing you use to let go whatever you were just doing. So I was like, wow, I started using that not only in my morning routine, but throughout the day. I would use the priming or the pre-breathing to prepare for the day. I'd use calm and focus all throughout the day. And then I would use the release technique at the end of the day to let it go. And I was like, wow. And so I started to use that. And then we went and trained people on it. It was working in my life. I saw my stats get better. We used Muse to track my ability to clear my mind and focus. So meditation. And all of a sudden I saw my stats get better. I would do the breathing for 5 minutes before Muse. And all of a sudden I could completely clear my mind and have almost no thoughts in my head for a significant period of time. And I could measure it and show that it was real. And then we showed our clients how to do this kind of stuff, and they were better able to focus. There was research studies done with that in Chicago where they took little kids on ADD medication and they had them play a game. They gamified it. And they said, all I want you to do is try to get as many birds as possible, which is the reward when you're clearing your mind and there's no thoughts. And so for 3 minutes a day, the kids played a game and tried to get as many birds as possible. Within 30 days, they were able to massively reduce, if not completely eliminate, the ADD medication. And the kids were able to focus better than they were with the medication afterwards.
So what's the breathing technique for focus? And then also too for relaxation? I mean, two things that any high achiever definitely wants to be able to do. Yeah.
So there's one that Navy SEALs use, which is just real simple. It's just it's 4 seconds in, hold 1, 2, 4 seconds out, hold 1, 2, 4 seconds in, hold 1, 2, 4 seconds out. If you stay in this rhythm and you track it, your body will go into a focused state.
That's awesome.
And so how do you build that muscle? Knowing it is one thing, but living it is the other thing. So how do you train it? Practice 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, and then practice throughout the day. How do you know if you're doing it right? Buy a little device called Spire, slap it on your belt, and track all day and know how many minutes you're calm, how many minutes you're focused. And you can practice staying in the focus zone. Next up, if you want calm, just add 4 seconds to each side of a square. Mark Divine, who's an ex-SEAL, talks about this as well, how to calm your body. So 4 seconds in, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold it out for 4, and repeat. That goes then to calm. It calms your entire nervous system.
That's awesome.
And so what happens is 2 different breath patterns. You can control your breathing all throughout the day. Now, it's interesting. We took this kind of stuff. We went and trained the Special Operations Command for the U.S. Air Force. These guys are awesome. These guys are strong enough to fight like the SEALs, but smart enough to whip their backpack off and do full surgery in an open, heavy combat situation. Like, these are the guys who fight their way in to save you, who do full surgery on you while getting shot at, who drag you out in the golden hour and get you back to a hospital where they could, fix you all the way. And these are brave humans. Their motto is first there that others may live. And so I love helping people who help others. I think it's a way I can help more people is by helping them be better. And so what we realized, we went and trained these guys, it's all men, and we got tossed in their group and they put me through a day and a half of their training. I think they just wanted to toughen me up a little. So they tied me up and threw me in a pool and drown-proofed me, taught me how to not drown while you're tied up underwater.
What's the key to that?
Well, I choked on a handful of water first, and then they said, let us teach you now how to do it properly. And then I was like, thanks, guys. Thank you. They were all laughing and having fun. They, took me in all their vehicles and showed me how it works and showed me all the different aircrafts they use and introduced me to their team and staff and everybody. And what was interesting is I figured out all these people, because they learned how to be on mission. They learned how to turn on and be there and totally focused, and they could get the job done. Like, these humans do not fail. If they fail, people die, and they don't let people die. Like, they succeed continuously. Then I sat with them for 2 days and listened and learned and observed. And I said, a lot of people know how to turn on and be focused. None of these people know how to turn off. None of them know how to shut it off and go be with their family without having their mind thinking about 1,000 things going on. I had dinner the other night with a few friends. They invited me over. I didn't know I was going to be there. I sat down and the guy sitting next to me was Sergey Brin from Google.
Oh,
and I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, look at this guy. I didn't want to crack it. My head was filled with dumb jokes. I'm like, you tell people to Google it? Like, come on. I was like, I wanted to say so many dumb things. I'm like, keep it together, stay focused, don't say anything stupid. So we just hung out. He's a very good man. His family was very genuine and nice, good people. We're all talking, and this lady sitting next to me, and she said, I'm a recovering super performer. I was like, whoa, what does that mean? And why are you recovering from it?
right.
And she says, I was one of those people that built businesses. I was an investment banker. And she listed all the big important jobs she had. And she said, I was on Adderall all the time to keep my focus and be totally wired and focused. I was drinking cups of coffee 24/7. I was doing everything I could to stay wide awake and focused so I could just work 24 hours a day without anything interrupting me. And I'm like, how'd that turn out? And she's like, well, that's why I'm recovering. Yeah. I checked myself into an inpatient center, and I spent, a few months there just detoxing from all the addictions I had, from the phone addiction and email addiction and all the tech addictions and all the physical addictions and everything that's going on in my life. And she completely burnt herself out. The way I describe this to people is, busy entrepreneurs nowadays, or let's go back to the soldiers. So if you're a soldier and it's war and you get captured by the enemy and they wanted to torture you, like they want to jack your world up. They want to tear you apart mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What are the first 3 things they take away from you?
Food, water.
Usually water. They could dehydrate you. They could sleep deprive you. That's psychological and emotional torture, meaning they don't let you sleep at all. They keep you up 24 hours a day. They pour buckets of water on you. They put bright lights on you. They play loud music. They don't let you sleep. It cognitively breaks a human. Yeah. Not only that, they could take your food away or feed you just horrible, crappy food. That'll jack you up because you have no fuel in your body to use to be energetic and alive. You loss of calorie intake or loss of nutrition can jack you up. And then the final one, if they really want to mess you up, movement. They could tie you up and bind you where you're like stuck. And if you do that for 4 days and then untie you, like you won't be able to physically move. Your muscles will start to atrophy. It'll hurt like hell. You won't be able to get anything done. And these things would be called torture. Now, it's interesting. As entrepreneurs, grinders, hustlers, all these people out there doing big things in the world, working 24/7, using Adderall and coffee and uppers and all this shit to stay totally focused and wired. What are the first 3 things we give up? Stop sleeping.
Yeah.
Stop eating right.
Yeah.
Start skipping meals. I'll get to it in a minute. And then we don't move. We sit all day. And when someone else does it to us, we say that they're torturing us. When we do it to ourselves, we give ourselves a high five and call it hustling. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild, man.
It's literally bananas.
And what's funny is I've heard you talk about just like we were saying earlier in the show, is lifestyle entrepreneur, and how you've really defined that differently than most other people. And you've been successful at it too, because a lot of other entrepreneurs are out there. We're all about the work, the hustle, the 24/7 grind. Yeah. And that's the mentality. But is that really better? What do you think?
Depends on where you go in the world. In Costa Rica, we have friends down there. They have a family business. Every day at lunch, they have 2-hour lunch because the first 30 minutes or 40 minutes they eat, the next hour they sleep, and then 30 minutes to get back to work. They could take a siesta in the afternoon. In the United States, we take the least amount of vacation hours in the world right now. But we're not the hardest working people in the world, to be honest. I've worked with harder workers before, and I know them. In Tokyo, people go to work at 7 a.m. and come back at 10 p.m. Consistently. So they outwork. But it's also a very high rating of suicide in that part of the world. Because
of the pressure to succeed, right? I've seen that a lot.
Yeah. And so you got to look at the balance, and this is what I'm looking for. Not balance. Balance is the tricky thing. Mm-hmm. I think the ability to look at what's most important and stay aligned. If working is most important to you, go for it. I can show you how to optimize yourself, get better sleep, better performance with less time, and look for the minimum investment for the maximum return. If that's what's most important to you, let's do it. I can help you do better than you've ever done in your life. if lifestyle, if being able to have time with your family, to be able to do things that matter most to you, to be able to stay true to who you believe you're meant to be, to have a purpose and a mission and desire to live life, to be out living life and to work to live instead of live to work. If you want to make that transition, I can show you how to create massive leverage in your life where all of a sudden it's minimum investment, maximum return. You know, and that sounds weird because if you love to do it, you won't want to put in the minimum investment, to be honest. If you love it, you'll want to do it all the time. But set it up in a way where it brings more life to your life, where it doesn't feel like work. Steve Jobs says, if you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. That's cool. That's why if you love it and you're great at it and people want it and they're willing to pay for it, it doesn't feel like work. You can do it 24 hours a day. But you want something that if you really love it, at the end of the day or during the process, time disappears, you disappear, and nothing else matters. There's a book called Flow. It describes this experience where you disappear into the moment. You blink your eyes and 1 minute it was 7 a.m. and now it's 7 p.m. and you don't know where the time went. You were in a flow state through that entire experience. That's a good indicator you're in something that really is that magic for you. Not only that, at the end of the day, you have more energy than the beginning of the day. If you're needing to take Adderall and uppers and coffee and caffeine and all this shit to stay alive, you're draining yourself. If you get to the end of the day and you're Michelangelo who worked 18 hours a day or 17 hours a day painting, and at the end of the day, you have more energy, you feel more alive because of the process you just went through than the beginning, that's a good sign. You're like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I got to call this work. You know, I spent 3 months stacking lumber up in Canada doing hard labor. And at the end of those days, I was drained. Like I could not move a physical muscle in my body without pain. I couldn't think without a thought like hurting in my head. Everything hurt. I was like, I do not want to do this the rest of my life.
Why were you stacking lumber?
I learned about hard work. So growing up in Southern California, my dad worked hard enough so that I didn't have to go through the same financial hardships he went through as a kid. And he gave me the ability to not have to go through those. But with that kind of benefit in your life, what you miss out on is having to do hard work just to be able to feed yourself, just to be able to stay alive. And so I remember I went up to Canada and I took a 3-month job stacking lumber. And so every morning I got picked up at 6 a.m. on the side of the freeway, driven out hour and a half to a lumber yard. And we just stack lumber all day. Just pick it up, move it over, set it down. Pick it up, move it over, set it down. Manual labor. And throughout the process, I remember in the beginning, I was there to prove to people how strong I was and how I was going to show them how tough I was. About halfway through, I remember hearing a lot of thoughts that I hear young people today say about their jobs. I'm better than this. I'm smarter than this. I'm more talented than this. I'm better educated than this. I should be leading. They should be listening to me. I should be the foreman here. Obviously, I know what to do better than this guy does. And you hear all these thoughts. I don't know if you've ever heard young people say these kind of things. I've heard it a ton.
Oh, totally. Unfortunately, I probably said it to myself when I was younger as well until I kind of checked myself. But I hear it all the time. They just come at it. It's that sense of entitlement. I deserve this. And luckily, I was raised that I have to work for everything. So everything that I've ever earned, I believe that I've worked really hard for. Sure, there's luck and all that stuff, but and skill and people that help you. But I truly believe that if I work my ass off, I deserve that. And if I don't, I don't even want it. I want to earn it. So 100% agree with you.
No, I'm the same way. And this was part of that training. So being there, I checked myself. I looked in the mirror and I said, who the hell do you think you are? What makes you think you're so special? And I noticed there was a trend in the thinking pattern. And the trend was it was all about me. And I walked out and I experienced a profound shift here. I looked across from me and there was a dude who was probably in his 70s or 80s. He's an older man. His name was Uncle Dubai, was his nickname. And they called him that because he had stacked lumber everywhere in the world, including Dubai in 140-degree weather outside, and Canada in negative whatever degree weather in the snow. So this guy had traveled all over the world. And I asked him, I said, why do you stack lumber? And he said, hey, I took this job when I was 18 years old. I've been doing it my whole life. And in the Indian culture, East Indian culture, the oldest living male is financially responsible for the family. And so he was the oldest living male at 18 years old in his family. And therefore he took the job he could get, and he's been stacking lumber ever since, giving every penny he makes back to his entire family for them to live on.
Wow.
And I noticed he wasn't complaining. He wasn't feeling entitled. And I noticed the difference. This guy was focused on the service of others, and I was there focused on who I thought I was in my own head. And the moment that transitioned, all of a sudden, this experience of stacking lumber became a lot more purpose-filled, because I could step back and go, wow, this isn't about me. You know, who am I doing this in service of? If I can show up and deliver as a teammate, I'm helping him take care of his family. Wow. I had a lot more inspiration at that moment. I'm like, I can help this guy take care of his family. No problem. Let me step up for him. Let me be there for him. He's tired, takes a break. I'll do his part too. Let me help both. Now we're both helping his family. I was like, who else am I doing this for? I said, you know what? I'm doing this for my future family. We've lived in one of the longest stretches of good life here in the U.S. Like no war, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, but no war on natural soil. There's nothing crazy happening. We don't have the Black Plague or anything taking out the majority of people in this country. Like we've lived through one of the best times in history as far as a good streak. And streaks change. It doesn't always stay that way. So I said, not only am I doing this for his family right now, I'm doing this for my family in the future. Because if I can learn how to fall in love with this, I can learn to fall in love with anything. And if I can teach myself how to fall in love with this process of stacking wood, hard labor, then if my family ever needs me to go do hard labor to feed them and pay for the bills and take care of my wife and child in the future, I will know how to do it and know how to love it and not just suffer through it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's an important lesson to learn.
I was depressed for years when I was in dental school, and I was out at NYU, did dental school residency 7 years, and I really suffered a lot mentally. And the biggest shift for me was realizing that I was just focusing on me. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about anybody else in this situation. I wasn't giving anything else to anybody. And when I shifted that really helped me kind of gain perspective. Yep. But also too, I constantly reinforce that as well. And I love what you said about future family. I don't have kids of my own yet, but I will. And I work really hard because I'm looking at my future family. And I think that there's levels of what we can, in your learn it, live it, give it type of scenario that first I had to make my own self better. Then I want to improve the lives of like my family and friends around me. And then it also too, like the world, like actually make an impact on random people. One of the coolest things about this podcast is I'll get messages from people in New Zealand who I've never met before, just saying, oh, I listened to this podcast. It massively impacted my life. Thank you so much. Keep going. And I'm like, whoa. The first time I got that, I screenshot it, sent it to my girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then it started happening more and more. And, every week I'll get just a message from somebody saying thank you. And that inspires me even more to keep going. So I definitely think shifting that, not only from the perspective of hard work, what you're doing, but also if you're depressed or worried about something. If you're worried about something, you're probably focusing on yourself as opposed to what you could be doing for other people.
Yeah. And there's something magical that happens when, again, it's a tricky piece. Women tend to be over givers. Like they give and give and give and give, and they don't set boundaries. So they have no lines. They just give everything and they're completely drained, and then they'll still give you what they've got. Parents do this as well with their children. So going back to that morning routine, it's a piece of your world that you set up and say, hey, I'm going to be selfish enough in a good way to hide this part of my life from everyone else. No text messages, no emails, no Instagram, nothing. Nothing gets in this part of my day, because this is the 1 hour of the day that I get to literally take the fuel pump, plug it in, and fill it up. And now I'm full. Now I can give all day and then focus the whole rest of the day on giving. And then come back and at the night, plug it back in and fill back up before you go home. And that was something we talked about with the special ops command guys, was saying, hey, do 3 rounds of this breath. You just take a deep breath in real slow through your nose. At the very top, suck in a little more through your mouth and close it off. and then bear down, squeeze your neck, squeeze your face, squeeze your back, your hands, everything, like squeeze, 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 count to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then drop it. Let it all out in one breath. We almost want to like spit it out, like spit the air out, and then drop your head, drop your shoulders, collapse your diaphragm, like squeeze the air out all at once. So let's try it again. A little more at the top. Squeeze. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way out. Let's do it 2 more times real quick. A little more. Squeeze. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way out. Like really try to throw it out really hard this last time. Ready? I'll do it. A little more at the top. Squeeze. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, throw it out. Now, it's funny. You look like a different human. How do you feel?
I feel like I'm floating up.
Yeah. So what happened is you just reset the vagus nerve in your body, which resets your entire peripheral nervous system. It's like pressing the reset button on your PCU.
That was awesome.
And so imagine doing that after a long day's work. And then now that you've reset, now, you know, you can do some breathing where you just start rapidly breathing in and out, like you just do like 30 seconds of that breath. It's called breath of fire in yoga, where you build up that natural fire and energy inside of your body. And then when you're completely kind of buzzing in your head and you're like, whoa, now focus on what you love most about the people you care about most, your family, your friends, your life. You know, if you're going home to your husband or wife, think about what do you really appreciate about them? What's exciting? What are you looking forward to in the future with them? What makes you feel so loved and cared by this person? What's special about them? What makes you laugh? What are some special moments that really just lit your heart up and made you laugh out loud with this person? And if you take 5 minutes to flood all those great thoughts in your nervous system before you come home, you'll become something called present. And it'll be a gift you can share with the ones you love, because all of a sudden you walk into the door and you're now present with them. And you're 100% there. Your mind is not thinking about work. Your mind is not thinking about deals. Your mind is not caught up in some dude who said something that was a total a-hole at the office. Your mind is totally present with the ones you love, because number one, you reset the nervous system and cleared out all the thoughts. Number two, you pumped up some energy using that breath of fire. And then number three, you flooded your mind with all the things you love, appreciate, admire, and really, truly connect with when it comes to the ones you love. And then you became totally present, and you became the gift that came home that can now be totally present with them for the rest of the evening. So just like you have that morning routine, create that evening routine where you turn it off, shut it down, rewind, and get ready to share with the ones that matter to you most.
I love that. And gratitude is something that I've personally learned to create big shifts. Recently lost a cousin of mine at a young age, 41, heart attack on the treadmill. Yeah. At the same time, my mom had some health issues, and it was just like, I always say I'm working really hard for family. Like I want to create a life for family, including all the family that I have around me. And I thought, what am I really working for? And what am I really doing? And I became incredibly grateful for the opportunity to work harder, but also too for the time that I have with my family. And so, you know, every week since his passing a couple months ago, I kind of just think about it. I think about the gift of life. And I go, you know, there's always problems. There's always fires. There's always something that can get us wound up.
Yep.
And I stop and I just think about it and say, you know what? I'm grateful to be alive right now. Isn't it beautiful? Or to even have the opportunity to make my life better is a gift. Yep. So I love that breathing exercise too. That's hugely helpful to reset your physiology and just get that going.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff we share with people are things that are immediately practically useful. Like I could teach you that breath pattern, and literally after listening to this podcast, you could head home, do that, and you're going to have a little bit better life just because we were around today having this chat. And so that's what we hunt for. What are things you could do that you'll immediately see a result? Like you don't have to do this for 30 days to see what happens. You could do it today and have a different version of your day for the rest of the evening.
Totally. You know, with coaching, I mean, you have like over 15 years experience coaching people. For entrepreneurs that are not necessarily running successful businesses, which I know is partly your clientele as well, but starting out, Like, how did you gain success? And I know your dad's popular in the industry.
Sure.
How did you separate and differentiate yourself? Because you made $100,000 in the first 8 months of business, which is just incredible for anybody. And how did you separate from that, differentiate yourself, and let go of the pressure to kind of be this person that maybe you weren't?
Sure. So I didn't do a good job of that when I first started. I worked for his company for about 8 years. And when I very, very, very first started, I tried to like set up my office like he used to have his office set up. And I tried to mimic and model everything I saw because I was taught at a young age that modeling, watching what other people do, and it's the fastest way to repeat the result is by modeling them or you kind of mimicking what they've done.
Right.
And so I tried that for a while and it didn't get me very far. I mean, it felt silly. It didn't feel authentic. And I started to find my own space. And so after a while, I tried to figure out what was my approach at doing it. And, what was my natural message? What was the message I most wanted to share with the world? And that was part of that journey around the world. I took a trip around the world and went and kind of found myself and just figured out, who am I? They call it a walkabout. They call it a vision quest. They call it, a journey of the soul, where a young person goes out into the world. In the Maasai tribe at 14 years old, they kidnap the young boy out of the village. They tie him up, throw him in the forest, and then they unhood him, and he realizes it's his brother and uncle and cousin, and he wasn't murdered by the tribe next door. Like, he's okay. But then they say, hey, you're going to stay out in the wilderness by yourself as a 14 or 12 to 14-year-old boy for an entire 12 months. And you're going to have to learn two things. Number one, how to feed yourself. And number two, how to protect yourself. There's lions and animals and all kinds of stuff out here. And you're not allowed to come back to the village until a year. And when you come back to the village, you will get a new name and you will never be a boy again. The boy will die and the man will live. But you have to become a man. And so they put you out in the forest to learn to find yourself and figure out how to protect and defend yourself. And part of that is, if you can't protect and feed and defend yourself, then you don't add a whole lot of value to the village. So if you get eaten by a lion while you're out there, you would have gotten eaten by a lion and not be able to protect the village, which the men in the Maasai village sleep outside of the fence on the ground to protect against the lions that try to attack for the cows.
Right.
So if you're a man and you can't fend off a lion by hand with a spear, you're not of much use to the village. You're going to get eaten anyways. So they might as well find out when you're 14 instead of 40, they say. And that thought process, which is pretty aggressive way to approach life as a teenager.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Hey, my dad and I were there, and he elbowed me. He said, hey, want to become a man? I was like, soon as you do, buddy. That's the final test, too, is you have to be able to kill a lion by hand and bring it back to the village, because you got to show it by hand. So these 14-year-old kids go kill a lion by hand and drag it back. And I was like, dude, I'll follow your footsteps, buddy. Like, you go kill a lion, I'll figure that shit out by watching.
This is where modeling will actually work in my favor.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll find out.
Hopefully, yeah. Or I'll know what not to do. That was a good warning.
Example or warning. Either one I'm going to learn.
Totally.
But the concept of, all these things. And so I took a journey around the world. It's called Semester at Sea. It's 110 days. You're on a cruise ship with 700 students, 900 people altogether, including faculty and staff. And you go all the way around the world in 110 days. And so we went from Vancouver to China or Japan, China. We did Thailand, India, Vietnam, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa. We did Brazil, Venezuela, back up to Florida, all in a semester. So 310 days.
Wow.
And in that journey, I found out a lot about myself. Found out a lot about what I was good at, what I wasn't good at. From there, I went and stacked lumber right before that trip. So I learned, how to do hard work and how to push myself. I learned how the majority of the world was living and working. From there, I went and lived in a village over in Uganda for 3 months right afterwards. So I packed up my stuff, moved to Africa, and lived in a rural farming village. No running water, electricity, or toilets. For 3 months, I was teaching organic farming to the farmers. And so in all these moments, there was different lessons. Learning how to fall in love with hard work. Learning what the rest of the world life is really like in comparison, and where I could be of value and of service to them and to the world. Not only that, learning how to fall in love with simplicity in life. No running water, no electricity, no toilets. How do you enjoy just being alive every day? And I figured these are great life lessons at a young stage and age. If I could figure that out then, it'll carry me through a lot of stuff. Because if I could just be happy to be alive when I'm living on a broken hospital cot in the back of a schoolhouse with no doors or windows on it, except for the little square room we're in that had one door that had a little like lock on it. And if I could fall in love with life there, I could fall in love with life everywhere. And if I could thrive there and really enjoy life there, man, I could thrive and enjoy life with any situation that would go on. Now, every opportunity from that point is just an opportunity to experience whatever you can create. Well, while I was there, one other thing happened that really shifted the perspective, that put me more on a really deep service-based path. And I got malaria twice, and at one point was told I had 6 days left to live. And so with 6 days left to live, I started to reconsider my values. What's most important to me? And I looked at the way I was living my life before I took all those trips and journeys. And my favorite music video before I left was like Puff Daddy with Hypnotize and Biggie Smalls and cars and money and girls and yachts and planes and all this stuff. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that with my life. That's going to be amazing. And then when I got back from Africa, I'm like, dude, electricity is the bomb.com, man. Like I could flip a switch and get a light bulb. This is amazing. Toilets, probably one of the greatest inventions in the world. Like having to squat over a hole is not good at 2 a.m. when you had a bad night of beans. Like that doesn't work out too well. Like toilets are the coolest thing I've ever experienced coming back from Africa. And I took all the stuff I had and I gave it away. Like I don't need this stuff. And even to this day, like my wife and I have investment properties and we've built businesses and done all this stuff, but we've continually narrowed down all the things we travel with. We have just a couple pallets, maybe like a little mini storage unit of stuff we actually need or take with us everywhere. And that's including all of our personal life and our business. We don't need a whole lot to be incredibly happy and fulfilled and abundant.
Yeah.
And so that freedom from stuff and the ability to just do something that matters every day. When I was told I had 6 days left to live, I remember the best way to describe it is a friend of mine wrote a book and he talked about this concept of, did you really live life when, you were given the opportunity to? Did you really love deeply and share every ounce of love you could with the people around you? And did you matter? If you were to die today, would anyone even care or remember? And, when I was 20 years old, laying on a hospital bed, told I had 6 days left to live, I was like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm living. I just took a lap around the world on a cruise ship. I went to 10 countries in 100 days and did all this, like stood on the Great Wall of China and visited the Taj Mahal. Like I felt like I was really living.
Yeah.
And I just, a few days before I had whitewater raft, one of the longest rapids. There's a mile-long rapid in the Nile River in Uganda. So I was like living.
Whoa.
I was doing it.
Yeah.
And, was I really loving? And I remember because in high school, a girl broke my heart and I was kind of timid when it came to giving my whole heart to somebody. So I was like, no, I wasn't really loving. Like there was a part of me that could love more if I wanted to. I just scared. And then was I really doing something that matters? And that's where I had one of those big old gulps. Like, gulp? I don't know. I hope so. It's like, well, if I did die in 6 days, would anyone care? I'm like, well, my mom would. Thank God for moms. My dad would care, my grandma and my cousins, but like, would anyone in like the world care? Would it matter to anybody if I was even here? And so when I came back, I started focusing on projects that I think would matter to people, things that would actually make a difference in someone's world. And it was funny, when I first started my business, it was all about, I want to impact 1 million people and make $1 million in the process, $1 a person, something like that. And what's funny is we struggled immensely in the beginning of that business. And over all the different years and how we grew and expanded, eventually now, I mean, if you look at our P&L and watch our actual business, we're, I think, 46% growth year to date from last year. And every single month we've grown over the month comparably last year. So we're growing and growing and growing month over month over month over month. And, it's because I've been studying business for 5 years and applying it to our own business and helping clients do it with their business. And so we're growing and growing and growing and growing. And what's funny is how the mission's evolved. It's not about trying to help 1 million people and make $1 million. It's just saying, hey, our goal every day is help the one person who needs us most at the moment they need us with the message they need. So every day we do podcasts like this, we create quotes and we push out all kinds of content in every direction on every platform. And our goal is just find the person that needs us most and get the message they really need at the moment they need it most. And every single day, just like you, we're blessed that we receive emails and messages from all over the world of people saying, hey, I needed this. Thank you. People write us messages like, get out of my head, Robbins. How do you know what I'm thinking? and it's simple. Our goal every day is to reach the person that needs us most with the message they need at the moment they need it. And if that piece of giving them a little bit of life and helping them become happier, healthier, stronger, more fulfilled, more resilient in some way, shape, or form, that's why we push messages out on every platform in every way, and it works. And so now, if I were to die today, I would know with 100% certainty that I mattered. I've done something for the planet in a way that'll continue to ripple far beyond my presence here. And so every program we create, whether it's our coach training program or our high performance program or the podcast we create, we have a new one coming out. It's called What Do You Think the World Needs More Of? And it's just focused on bringing more humanness to humanity. Love, joy, purpose, re-identifying those special moments that remind us what life is really all about. And those things we like to bring forth and spread to the world because we believe with more of that going around, it inspires people to keep going and to live fully every day and love deeply and do something that matters beyond them just themselves.
Is that kind of is that what you talk about with your clients, with your entrepreneurs, when you're doing your performance coaching, is really getting them to connect to that message, whatever it is for them?
So maybe a couple of them. Like I said, broccoli versus Cheetos. They don't show up looking for broccoli. Some do. I have a few clients who showed up looking for broccoli, and they're like, "You got a lot of purpose, man. I want some of that purpose stuff. Teach me, help me, work with me." But I got a lot of clients that show up wanting Cheetos.
Right.
They want the good stuff. They want to make more money. They want to look better. They want to have abs and cash and cars and planes and millions and billions and hot wives and hot husbands, and we help them do all that magic stuff.
You get them hot wives and husbands?
Hey, if they're looking for them, we can deliver.
Match.com with Jairek Robbins.
Yeah, it's helpmefindlove.net is our website.
Oh, you guys do have one.
Yeah.
I saw it was a book or a podcast, right? Boom.
Anyways, on today's episode.
There it is. That's awesome.
So we do help people in that area.
I mean, relationships are so important, something that I learned really the hard way of how valuable it is. And, kind of like we talked about switching gears and maximizing performance. If you're all business and your relationships are suffering, odds are, it might work for a couple of years, but that's why some of these millionaires are just massively depressed, alcoholics, divorced 3 times because they can't handle not being in a relationship, or they're not basically nourishing the relationships that they have.
It's a hidden agenda. A lot of my clients have is they call me and they hire me as a business coach to help expand the business. And 3 calls in, they go, "Okay, I need your opinion on something. I'm going on a date, and what do you think?" And I go, "Oh boy, here it comes, the journey." Deep down, one of my personal passions, I studied it for 5.5 years, is relationships. Helping people cross that bridge. And when they're ready, when they're done dating and they're ready to find someone to spend their life with, we can help them cross that bridge successfully and make sure that they find the right person to spend their life with. Otherwise, you find the wrong person to spend your life with, you're headed for a divorce, you're headed for a headache. Even if you stay together forever, you're just going to hate each other in the long run. And you're going to be freaking miserable. And what I've learned is, like you said, you can have all the money, you can be super healthy, you can have super fit and have everything in your life together. If you screw this area of relationships up, it'll bring the strongest man to his knees in a heartbeat. And it'll make it feel like everything in your life is worthless because you can't get this area right. And as a woman, it'll jack up your world if someone takes the best years of your youth and 15 years later decides you're not the one and kicks you out to go find someone to spend their life with. And you're left there thinking, what the hell just happened? These things are really, really painful. I can show women within literally 3 minutes of listening to a man and speaking with them by the words he's using, what he's actually ready for, not what he says he's ready for. Because every man says, if I found the right one, I would totally be ready. That is a bullshit, backwards ass lie. They're not ready if they say that. And I can show you what words they will be using if they are ready. It's really simple. As a man, I can tell you how to identify certain characteristics and stages of life a woman will be in and show you how to identify what she needs, what she wants, and what she desires, and how she needs it, how she wants it, and how she desires it. And it's not me magically knowing what every woman wants. It's me showing you how to understand that from her, how to ask her, how to listen, how to observe in a way that you'll really get into her world and all of a sudden know how to deliver for her. People ask me, I was, again, talking to Sergey, guy sitting next to me at the table the other night, and people say, hey, what's your number one goal? And I said, my number one goal is to make my wife feel like the most loved, seen, understood, and appreciated human being on this entire planet. I can always make more money. I can always build a bigger brand. I can always sell more books and programs and tapes and get bigger applauses and speak to bigger audiences and all this jazz. And this one area, you screw it up, it'll bring you everything it'll level your world.
Yep.
And so I've learned this is the most important area of my life. When you say lifestyle entrepreneur, I've learned to get my values straight. I've learned to live life on purpose. To say, hey, what's most important? My wife. What's most important? Our life together. After that, we jump into other goals. And, I'll pull them up. I use this little bot on Facebook that every week reminds me of my top 3 goals and asks me how I'm doing.
Oh, that's awesome. What's it called?
Goal Bot. So it takes your goals and it asks you to write them down. Let me scroll back and find it real quick. So here's literally my top 3 goals. Number 1, make my wife feel like the most loved, adored, seen, heard, cherished woman on this planet. Number 2, 210 pounds, 10% body fat while building maximum endurance, flexibility, and strength. Number 3, generate $100,000 in revenue for our company this week via a lot of different companies: Performance Coach University, Pop and Lock Acquisitions, coaching, and speaking. And so my wife has a few other companies, but those are the ones I run. And so every week it sends me this little message, and I either say I'm stuck or I got it. And if I say I got it, it says, you're doing great, keep going. And
That's
every month
awesome.
It asks me to reset the goals.
Every week?
Every month. It has you reset
okay.
the goal, and then it holds you accountable every weekend on Saturday and asks you how you're doing.
Good timing, Saturdays.
Yeah, it's a good time to check in so you don't get distracted and do something stupid.
Exactly. Jairek, this has been awesome, man. As we're wrapping up, I'm curious. One thing we talk about is kind of the 80-20 rule. 80%, I look at 80% of our results come from roughly 20% of our actions. The key is knowing which actions to take. And we're all about taking actions here. So I'm wondering, what was kind of like the best piece of advice you ever got? You're a performance coach. What's one of the best pieces of advice you ever got, and something that you took action on?
Oh, man. Probably, when it comes to performance, learning what it takes to get the results you want. A lot of people, if I were to, hold on, let me bust out my trusty little dry erase board real quick. I'll draw you a diagram that you'll probably laugh at, but it's important for people. The concept of, where is it? I found it. Here, so this is where the Messiah sleep. I was trying to explain this to people. The Messiah, the little guy's the spirit out of the fence. So
okay, Picasso.
Oh no, it's not erasing. Okay, I'm going to draw over the Messiah men, so apologize. Here, let me I'll draw it for you. I'll slide this out of the way real quick. So real simple. If we created a scale, and I'm going to draw over the Messiah. Sorry, Messiah guys. But if we created a scale, and we said over here, this is kind of where we're at. This is the starting point. X marks the spot. And we say this result over here is just average. This is an average life. So average health, average love life. Most people get a divorce, almost half. Most people are unhappy. Most people are depressed. They don't like their life, all that jazz. It's average result, average life. Most people make 30, 40,000 a year in the US, somewhere in that range. So that's average. Let's call this guy up here. We can call him like the 1%. So the 1% makes about 400,000 a year. The 1% has maybe a property, maybe a summer house, takes a vacation once a year. They're happy. They may have a good love life, stuff like that. May have a good love life. Not extraordinary, just may not. But they're 1%. And then we have like the 0.0000001% or 0.001% up here. These people are like the people that people really aspire to be. Where you see people like Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Like, I want to have Warren Buffett's wealth. I want to have a love life that's like the fairy tales. I want to have all this stuff. I want to be healthier than I've ever been, happier than I've ever been. I want it all. So that's like the 0.001%. And the best advice I ever had was, average habits will never get you this result. Average habits, at best, will lead you to average results. At best. Meaning if everything works out in your favor and all the stars align, At best, an average daily habit is going to get you an average result and an average life. And that's okay. That's why it's called average. It's normal. But most people are dreaming of stuff up here, most likely up here, doing daily habits that lead here, and very frustrated that it doesn't match. And if you can adjust your daily habits and find out what habits actually lead up here, and you're willing to do them every day, you'll start to get a love life. And when I talk about the 1%, I say, how many people want to be the 1%? People go, oh my God, you're disgusting. Ew. I don't want to be the 1%. I said, really? You're telling me right now in this room, you don't want to be the 1% of humans who have some of the best sex on earth. That's what you're saying. Ew, the 1%, no thank you. You don't want to be the 1% of people in your church community who give more and support more than anybody else in your community. That's not who you want to be. You don't want to be the 1% of people who are happier than just about everyone else on earth. You don't want to be the 1% of people who truly show up and give more than anybody else in your community, who support more, who love more, who care more. You don't want to be the 1% of people who are healthier than everybody else on the planet. That's what you're going, ew, no thank you. Or have you allowed the media to convince you that it's just evil thing because of the way they've described it using catchphrases called the 1%? Excuse me, I want to be the fucking 1% of people that's healthy, happy, fulfilled, alive.
Amen.
I want to be the 1% of givers that give more than other people around me. I challenge myself to be that person. And as a matter of fact, I want to be the 0.001% of people who take care of people better than anybody else around me. Part of that's been an inspiration from my dad. He's always been a giver. Even when he had nothing, he was homeless, living in the back of his car, and he was saving money to give families a Thanksgiving basket on Thanksgiving because someone did it for him when he had nothing. Over this last 10-year period of time, he committed to donating 1 billion meals through Feed America to hungry people here in the United States. He's 3.5 years in, and he's already donated 350 million meals to the cause.
It's incredible.
He's part of the 0.001% of givers, giving more than anyone around. But we fucked this up in our head, and we've told ourselves, ew, I don't want to be the 1%. Those are greedy people who are doing bad things. Instead of realizing the 0.001% or 1% of the planet, you could have the greatest sex life. You could have the greatest health you've ever dreamed of. You could have the body you deserve. You could have the love life you deserve. You could have the spirituality you deserve. You could have the ability to give more than you've ever done. You could have all this stuff. But you got to shift, and you got to get aligned with what matters to you most. If you spend your whole life doing stuff because you think you have to, or doing stuff because you got to pay the bills, there's no chance. Average habits lead to average life. You got to step out and figure out what are those habits, and can you make an amazing love life happen being a security guard at Target? Hell yeah, you can. If that's your focus. But you got to figure out what's most important to you. What's most important? Do it one at a time. Focus on one category. Put a personal PhD program together where you spend 7 years studying the topic and applying and practicing everything you learn. And in 7 years, you'll read every book you can, take every course you can, watch every YouTube you can on the topic. And in 7 years of study, you'll start to see results. Those business results I talked about that were 46% growth over last year to date, that's because I've been studying business and applying, learn what it takes, live it. We're living it right now. And that's why we're 50% growth over last year or 46% growth over last year, because I'm applying everything I've been studying for 5 years. I'm 2 years away from my PhD in business right now. That's a personal PhD. I sat down, I wrote down every business book I could find. I took every course I could find. We've gone the courses on how to buy and sell businesses, how to optimize their 4-day MBA. I'm working on my online MBA right now. There's a really cool site. It's free. You could take a free MBA online, and it teaches you the basics of what you need to know.
What's the site called?
Hold on. Crap. I don't have it.
You can send it to me if you want. We can put it in the show notes.
We'll put the link in the thing here. But It's a free online MBA.
That's awesome.
Smartly.
Okay.
So with Smartly, you can take a free online MBA. So people bitching about there's no money. I need to go back to school, but there's no money. This is dedication. This is part of the 1% habits.
Carving out time every day to learn this.
If you look at my calendar, there's an hour every single day at 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. that I go online and I study for 1 hour to get my online MBA.
Wow. Even with all this success you've got, you're still studying, you're still learning, you're still growing.
I just signed up for a course. I just paid $6,000 to take a course on how to do culture transformation based on value-based curriculum for corporations. So this Friday, I have from 7 in the morning till 10 in the morning, I have a 3-hour course that I'm taking for the first leg. It's a 12-hour course, but it's the first 3 hours. And I'm learning how to do culture-based transformation for organizations. How to identify where the culture currently is, how to identify where the culture needs to be for high performance, and what are the actionable things you can do as an organization to reset the culture of your entire company.
Wow. It's just investing in those things that you say you want, knowing your values, and then taking daily actions and creating new habits.
And so this is the difference. You got to ask yourself, where do my habits lead? Are my habits taking me to average? Are my habits taking me to that 1% life of health, wealth, abundance, sex, sleep, body, whatever, giving, caring, or the 0.001%? And I'll be honest, most of the stuff we're doing right now only leads us to the 1%. I know that. I'm cool with that. I'm not freaking out. When I get there, I'm going to adjust to the 0.01% and keep going. But I like milestones. I like mile markers. I don't have to finish the marathon in 10 steps. I got to get to mile 1 first. And I get to mile 1, I high five myself and go, hey, we're good. Let's go to mile 2.
That positive reinforcement.
So that piece, I know where I'm aiming right now. I'm aiming for a life that very, 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 very few people on earth will get to experience. And we already have one that very few people on earth will experience. But we're aiming for one that's better than the one we have, because that's the next milestone. As soon as we get there, we'll adjust.
Jairek, that's amazing, man. This has been just a phenomenal conversation with you. And I really appreciate you coming on. For our audience, where can we find you online?
And I apologize, the Maasai tribe's in my scale picture there. I couldn't erase them fast enough for y'all.
Stop using the permanent marker, man.
Shit. I hope it's not permanent. I like that little dry erase board. It's my favorite.
So where can we all find you online and learn more about, performance enhancing and coaching?
Sure. JarekRobbins.com. So I'm sure we can throw the link in there. People check out my name all the time, or just Google me, Jairek Robbins. Take your best shot. It will fix it for you. And good old Sergey will bring you right back to me. But luckily, thank you. I should have said thank you for that. But that piece, just Google it. Find me on Instagram. We're always pumping out great content every day. My goal is at least 2 posts every morning that brings some type of inspiration to keep going. And I try to get in people's heads and really share stuff that's meaningful and will hopefully make a difference. It's what they need at that moment. We have a YouTube channel. We have a new podcast coming out. It's going to be called What the World Needs More Of. It's just, I'll read you a little description. If people like podcasts and you're listening here, let me grab it real quick. Just something you can find us on here. So the description is what the world needs more of. Focus on inspiring stories that bring to life the little and big ways people bring more love, joy, laughter, and humanness to everyday life. Our focus is to hunt for those little moments that refuel the human soul and remind us what life is really all about. So if that's meaningful type content you want to listen to, feel free to find us on the podcast and listen in there. But find us online and come and join us. Come hang out.
Absolutely. So final question we always ask, and I'm so interested to know what your answer is, because you've achieved an immense amount of success in several different areas of life. Not just business, not just going to 100,000 your first 8 months, not growing 50% even 5 years into business, but also in love life and fitness. So for you, Jairek, what's your next level of success?
It's to continue on this journey. It's to be honest, our newest project, the reason that project is based the way it is, there's about 300 million people that are considered to be part of the personal development community. These are people who are actively looking to better themselves in some way. And this also includes weight loss. So 300 million people. That means there's 6,800,000 or 700,000 people, or 6,700,000,000 people that don't know this kind of stuff exists.
Oh.
And so my thought was, how do I reach that amount of people with something that would really be useful in their world? That's why we created that podcast. Because I believe whether you're, a hardworking store clerk in Guatemala at a little shop and you could tune in and listen to that, or you're someone who's at the top of a Fortune, 100 company in the world, or you're a hardworking mom, or a student who's striving to get great grades, moments that bring a little bit more humanity and humanness in the everyday life are always needed. They remind us, hey, we're good, we're cool, we got this. You might need a little bit more love, a little bit more patience, a little bit more empathy. As I do these interviews, it puts a smile on my heart. So, our next level is to create messages that are for the six. We love the 300 million people. We love y'all who love this stuff already. We're still going to create content for you. But to start creating content for that 6,700,000,000 people who don't know this stuff exists, so that we can ignite a little bit more of them and show them, hey, you can have a little bit better life if you want it. You just got to go about it in a little way. And hopefully the little stuff will help bring more humanness in every day of their life.
I spent the first 27 years of my life with one set of beliefs and how the world worked, and it drove me down a path of depression for 7-8 years. Sure, I was quote unquote successful on paper, but I was failing at the biggest goal, which was living life and enjoying it. And I had no idea. And it was, I'm 32 now. So 4 or 5 years ago, that I changed everything in life, got immersed in personal development, but started learning everything. And it was like, how did I never know? How did I never know, man? So what a cool mission. And I love that. That's great.
Thank you.
So Jairek, thanks so much for coming on Unleash Success.
Thanks for having me. Thank you everyone for watching or listening. It's a pleasure to meet y'all, and thank you for sharing a little life with us.
If you enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that I have is please go subscribe, whether you're on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. And if you leave us a 5-star rating and review, that absolutely helps us get our message out there. Each week, I'm going to continue to interview amazing people, and we're going to break down their tools and strategies to help get you real results. Feel free to visit the website, unleashsuccess.com, and subscribe to our newsletter so you get updates each week. And remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way you're going to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So take some action, subscribe to the podcast today, and get ready to unleash success in you.